Yo, what's poppin'? All my peeps, it is I, your host with the most renaissance man who always thinks he can, and champion of the peeps, Patty Pitts, back for another edition of the Raw Rewind. And joined with me, as always, it is the best of the West you can't forget about Sarah Marshall. Sarah, what's poppin', girl?
Hey, yo.
Oh, yeah. I've been like so wrestling obsessed lately. It's kind of.
Oh, it's bad. Oh, we're getting.
I mean, I just go through phases, you know? I think during the NFL offseason, wrestling becomes like my main thing. And now that I'm so engrossed in it, it's going to be difficult to balance. So, what are you going to watch? Oh, wait, no, I could watch wrestling and Monday Night Football at the same time. Oh, my God. That is very exciting.
Pretty massive.
Yeah, I used to have to be like, what do I want to watch? Monday Night Football or Raw? You know, but that's
a little different.
Yeah, and now that I can watch it live, it's like a little cooler, you know?
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I just got another Funko.
Yeah, you showed me this.
My third Finn Funko. Like I needed another Finn Funko.
Well, you never have too many. There's many personalities of Finn Balor.
I know. So I have the original, trunk wearing one. I have Demon Finn. And now I have it's like before Judgment Day Finn. You know?
Prince. No, but like Prince with the X. Like WWE Prince.
Yes. And then I've been looking at Seth Rollins Funkos because I can't believe I don't have one. But of course, they're both vaulted, so they're ridiculously expensive.
That's true. That is true.
It's just unfortunate, and I don't have any more room on my shelf. So it's just I pre-ordered the Cody Rhodes one.
I mean, that's just.
I know. I try to get all my favorites. That's all. You know.
I'm in the stage of my wrestling fandom right now where I'm keeping up with sports because you have to, but like my dad will be watching something and I just he's like, oh, you watching this tonight? And I'm like, no, what NXT's on or Dynamite's on or and it's like, oh, Pitt, do you want to go out Friday night? I'm like, well, other than having work at 5 a.m., I have SmackDown at 8 p.m.
That doesn't stop you. You went out last Friday.
Well, I had to.
Stop it right now. Stop lying.
It was a client. All right. I was
still
trying to impress. It was Cinco de Mayo. The champ had to show his face at a very important client's place. I got free shots out of it. It was great.
All right.
That's what happens when you're the champ. You get shit like this, and then you get to come into the yard of streams and talk about the other shit that is going on this time in a different universe, the WWE universe. Sarah, we had our first Raw after the draft, and I'll just say this to kick things off before you put in that topic bar and kick off the actual organized conversation. To me, this was not the best Raw ever, fine, but what it did was it was a Raw that established that this is a new era.
Yeah, I think I was just talking about this with my sister, actually. And I said the same thing, that it just kind of felt like as I was trying to come up with what we were going to talk about today. And I was like, oh, okay, there's not that much. And I think a lot of it was, introducing all of this new stuff. But then at the same time, it felt very, very circular. Oh, my goodness. My cat is just whatever. Anyway, it felt like it was just surrounding the triple threats. Like it just felt like that was the main thing throughout the show. So we had the 2 triple threats and then the final one. It felt like that was like the main thing of the entire night. And so the other stuff was like, it was okay, but it almost felt like we had 3 main events, even if you didn't care about them all at equally, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I just kind of felt like the other things were just the filler, but it was like the main parts of the show was only 3 matches and they weren't, really long.
They were good pay-per-view matchups that had good TV matches.
Yeah.
They were just good.
Yeah. So since we're talking about it, let's just talk about them then. Yeah, I thought it was interesting. The first to kick off the show, I had to talk about this. You know that you are the guy in the company when they have you start off a show to introduce like a tournament for no reason. Like when they first had Cody come out and he, kind of talked about Brock like a little bit, but then it was just like, I have the honor of introducing, setting this off. Like the tournament has begun. And I was like, okay, like, like, and he came out in his gear. So I was like, are they really?
I thought he was going first.
Me
I
too.
did not even pay attention at
Yeah.
first. I went
Yeah.
upstairs.
And so I was like, are they really starting with this? Like, and then Seth came out and I was like, oh wait, I liked that little thingy.
Go back and forth. You need
Yeah.
it for the B-roll.
Yeah.
For the promos.
But
I get it.
I just thought it was funny because I was like, oh, okay, Cody's become that guy now, because otherwise the whole point of you being there was pointless. But I just thought that was funny. So we know the first one since that kicked off Raw was Seth Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura versus Damian Priest. And before we get into that, we then knew they announced this before the show that we were then going to get Cody Rhodes versus Finn Balor versus The Miz. So since we didn't get to talk about it, we're only going to talk about the Raw participants. What did you think about their choice for the Raw participants? Did you like the 6 that they chose?
I thought it was perfect. It's because you need to split Cody and Seth up. I think we've seen it too many times.
Yeah.
And
Damian and Finn.
And you obviously you need to split the Judgment Day. They're not going to go against each other. And I like the fact too that Miz and Nakamura were not in the same match, because so you have like 3 feuds or factions, people who are connected, competing for the same thing, but you split them very evenly. And what it did was it gave at least the fan a little bit of variety in what we're watching on, free television.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see matches like that. It wasn't a 5-star pay-per-view match of the year, but for a tournament to kick this off on the main show, I thought they were really good matches, and no one looked weaker coming out of it. No one buried in a sense, or you're gonna forget about them. Like, for instance, I'm gonna remember Nakamura and Miz feud right now. That's set up well. Like, and I didn't even spoil anything by saying that. It's just it was very. I liked how they did it, and I liked how they set it up. Even though it might be predictable, I still don't.
I know. I was gonna mention that too. I thought who they picked. I mean, since we're just focusing on Raw, I thought who they picked made the most sense, I think, out of the people that are on Raw. Obviously, Drew McIntyre could have been in it, but he's on a hiatus of some sort. We don't kind of really know what's going on there. But I think that, I initially was upset when, we saw that LA Knight wasn't going to be in them, right? And then you think about it, and it's like, the World Heavyweight Championship is being reintroduced, and it's going to need to be built up to feel equal to the WWE and Universal Championship, or at least feel significant because of how they introduced it. A lot of people were saying this feels like a consolation prize or blah, blah, blah. So I feel like who they picked is exactly who they needed to pick, because they're either former champions or would be in the champion conversation right now if they had a championship on Raw. So the only one that I would be like, is like The Miz, and that's just because he's kind of been jobbing recently. But then you think, like, he's a 2-time Grand Slam champion, like he's done this before. Oh my God. I'm going to off myself.
There's a lot. She has a lot to say right now. This is incredible. Remy is just trying to steal the show. She wasn't in the tournament.
Yeah. She's like, I picked Nakamura. Stop it.
I am a fan of the King of Strong Style.
Pulled out my earphones. Okay. Anyway, so Miz, even if he felt kind of random, because I saw some people saying that they didn't think that he belonged in the match, he's accomplished. So it makes sense. And if they were trying to do what you were saying, where it kind of felt like the factions or the rivalries, the feuds or whatever, it made sense to have Miz in there if you had Nakamura. So I didn't have a problem with it. I didn't really look at the rest of the roster to see if there was anyone that I was like, oh, this person should have been in.
Like chat, yeah,
Excellent.
it's
We'll get into the SmackDown one later because I have thoughts on that. But did you feel like the Raw ones were too predictable? Because I felt like that was kind of an aspect. Because I tweeted about it, we discussed it, that we basically knew that there was no chance that Rollins wasn't going to win, and we knew that Cody was going to lose at the hands of Brock Lesnar. If I'm asking myself that question first, really quick, I felt like it was predictable. Sorry, I'm gonna
ask this question. I got one answer though.
Yeah, I'm just gonna answer quick. I was just gonna say I didn't mind it that much. I don't mind that it was a little bit predictable because the matches were still good. So, and it furthered other things. So I didn't have a problem with it.
Once I saw that Rollins was officially announced, you could have told me anybody, and I just would have been like, okay.
Yeah.
So Rollins versus, and I'm pretty sure I texted you like, yeah, Rollins versus. You're like, you didn't click the tweet. I'm like,
Yeah.
I saw what I saw. I know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So like, it to me, at that point, you could be the negative Nelly and say, well, I know who's gonna win. So why don't I watch? No, because if they were great matches and
they were so good.
There's so many sub stories within that. For instance, like, I don't know if this was a different topic bar or not, but like Brock into Cody, you knew it was going to happen, but you're like, how are they going to do this? This is going to be a bullshit Vince McMahon, Brock doesn't say anything, just kicks ass and leaves. It was and that's another reason why it felt like a different era, because Brock Lesnar got on the mic and cut a fantastic promo, and all he did was quote a Toby Keith song.
We'll talk about that in a second. So there was Rollins, Nakamura, Damian Priest. It was a great match. There was moments I felt like it was, again, another equally spread out match. I felt like where this very easily could have been a Rollins dominated match or a Rollins and Nakamura dominated match. But I am loving how much they are using Damian Priest recently. And I feel like if anybody was questioning him or his push, or they didn't think it was the right thing, if you watched Backlash, you watched that phenomenal potentially match of the year, which is crazy. We're only in May and there's already like a handful of quality, possibly match of the year candidates already, which is insane. If you watch him versus Bad Bunny and you still think that he doesn't deserve his spot, then I don't know what to tell you.
Touch grass.
It was, I mean, it was just good. Don't even start because it gets stuck in my head. But anyway, so I love that, and he's been looking great. And my only problem is, of course, is that they keep making the Judgment Day look weak. That's just my problem. Other than Rhea, they make the rest of them look weak. But that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, that's
so. Rollins wins with a phenomenal frog splash over Nakamura, so we loved it. He has a really beautiful frog splash. I don't know if anyone actually pays attention, but it's fantastic. And then a little while later, then we got the second one of the night, which was Cody Rhodes versus Finn Balor versus The Miz. Another great match. I mean, again, nothing bad to say about this. I love Cody and Finn being in a match together, and Miz is great too. But we knew that Miz wasn't going to win. This was one that we knew probably how it was going to end. And even though it did end that way, I, like you already kind of alluded to, it was different than what we've seen before from Brock. And I think that's something that we should talk about, because yes, we knew that Cody was not going to win at the hands of Brock Lesnar. We knew that because it wasn't just going to be a one-off match at Backlash and then they're not going to deal with each other again.
Yeah, especially with the finish. No shot.
Yeah, and because of Brock taking this opportunity away from him to win a championship, it's significantly bigger than just losing the match. It's like, no, his whole purpose of being in WWE is to get the championship. So it's like, it's bigger than just, he helped you lose a match,
Yeah.
But, I also wanted to talk about, because we didn't talk about Backlash because this weekend was weird, but
yeah, weird weekend.
I don't think that people are crediting Brock enough for, I don't know if I would say like a transformation, but I think we have to kind of think about how we got here. And that would be Brock Lesnar being so bothered at the news of Vince leaving, retiring last year, to the point of him walking out on your Raw and
SmackDown, but yeah.
SmackDown, sure. And there being all this drama of like maybe he wasn't going to work for WWE anymore because he was such a Vince guy that he wasn't willing to stick around. And there, obviously, we've gotten to this point because he has been around. He's been working pretty consistently, far more than he has in years past. But someone made a good point about this on Twitter. The fact that he was down with the busting his face open says a lot about how he feels about the direction of his story, of the company, of Triple H, and how he feels about Cody, in my opinion. Because Brock went face first into metal clips, essentially.
Yeah.
And immediately became a redheaded monster to the point of like replays are in black and white. And I don't know if people think about this, that like, because some people are trying to pass around that he bladed. No, he didn't. Like, he
didn't blade. I'll tell you right now, he didn't blade. He may have done something to open up a little bit beforehand, but he did not blade, you know, just because there's so much blood. It's the only reason I can say, like, maybe.
Well, it was his face. Like you're, you know, there's certain parts of your body that bleed a lot, you know, like if you bite your tongue.
That's true. Oh, and that shit bleeds for minutes.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Like certain parts of your body are going to bleed more than others, but he is not one that is known for bleeding unless it like organically happened. This was very clearly a spot that was supposed to happen where he was supposed to bleed. So to me, that's, I don't know how to like explain it really, but I feel like that's a huge jump from where I would think Brock Lesnar would be at this point, like nearly a year into Triple H running WWE. I did not think that he would still be here working matches with someone like Cody Rhodes, you know, like even that was like a huge jump.
Well, that's the thing that's going to keep him here. You know, with Vince, it was, I'm going to work for Vince because he's protecting the shit out of me. You know, I'm working 4 matches a year, getting paid all this money. And because of Vince's booking style, I don't have to really show up. With Triple H's regime, it's the same thing, but it's like, hey, you're going to show up on Raw. You're not going to fight, but you're just going to kick some guy's ass, or you're going to be in a brawl, or, you know, you're going to, and I'm going to get to it, you're going to cut just a promo of you screaming about pay attention to me. You know, all eyes are going to be on you, and they're protecting him in that way, which is, this is how you know, another reason it's a different era, because Triple H is doing things in the sense where he's getting the most out of someone without them, you know, getting in the ring and, you know, really hurting themselves. He's protecting their physical body while still giving the fans, you know, that taste of that person, the preview of that person coming out. And, you know, I'll just start this off because I alluded to it, but goddamn, that promo. I mean, if you go back and watch the 02, 03 versions of SmackDown, Brock Lesnar did some incredible work with Kurt Angle, you know, backstage stuff where it wasn't your stereotypical, you know, I'm the better guy and I'm going to beat you with this. It was like back and forth comedy type thing. And if a wrestler can do that, that immediately shows their range as a you know, character persona.
And he's shown that even recently, like with the MVP and Omos stuff. Like people were loving that.
It's because Triple H obviously was there during that time and knows, okay, Brock, you used to do this and you liked it and you were good at it. Now, because Vince booked you into being this beast incarnate, why don't you just take with that and you just be this ass kicker? I mean, it's like that promo last night. I mean, you did realize he was quoting Toby Keith, right?
I didn't. I don't know Toby Keith.
Do you not listen to country music?
No, I don't.
Okay,
not really.
So yeah, it was the song I tweeted. Don't want to talk about me. That literally was the song.
I love that. I love that hidden gem. You know.
That's what I'm saying. That's why you're right here. It's so then on top of that, yeah, that could have been funny in that way where it's like, oh, he's the country guy and he's calling Toby Keith and whatever. Then he just looks into the camera and you're like, holy shit, this man is a scary human being. The
Mm-hmm.
stitches, the black eye, that's what got me. The stitches,
Yeah.
you're like, it's obvious,
I
like, yeah,
think he
because he went into
staples. I think they were
state.
staples.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
even worse.
Intense.
Technically,
Intense.
I don't know. Intense. That's more intense. But the black eye to me was the real standout because that's like, all right, I don't know. It added that extra element on top of the staples. And it's like,
Yeah.
all right, Brock is a beast. And we may not have seen a side of Brock Lesnar yet that, maybe Cody is going to bring out in
Mm-hmm.
him because of this. And when he said, I want to fight, I mean, yes, everyone's talking about, oh, there's going to be a stipulation involved. Should there be one? The stipulation could be anywhere from unsanctioned to an ambulance match. As long
Yeah.
as these two just don't end up in the ring for the finish, I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah, it could be like a no DQ. It could be anything. But
Before you get into your point, because I just remembered this, the science guy, Sora texted me today and said, I feel that this feud they should fight in Hell in a Cell and Night of Champions.
Maybe. I mean, I'm not mad. I wouldn't be mad about that.
I don't think it's the right decision, but it would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I would be. I think I wouldn't be mad about it, but I would like to see something different because we've already seen Cody in a Hell in a Cell match since he's been back. So I feel like it would be kind of cool to see him in a different element. But I do like that Brock is kind of evolving because we've talked, you just mentioned it, but we've talked about it before about how he used to be when he was the first around and he was a talker and he was like a high flyer doing moonsaults and crazy stuff like that he doesn't do anymore, which is fine. He's older too.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And I think that he's in the best position right now to be doing what he's doing, where he's talking on the mic, maybe being silly sometimes, whatever, because it's not like you're forgetting that he's the beast incarnate and he's done this and he's done that and he's beaten Roman and he's whatever, like, that. So it's like, it's just kind of cool to see the multiple sides of him, because I do think that people can become kind of boring when they become one-dimensional. If all they are is like, oh, they're just a dominant guy, like, okay, like, it's only so fun for so long.
Yeah.
And so you kind of need something added, and this makes it more interesting, because I think it's going to be interesting to see how this progresses over the next couple of weeks too, because Cody is obviously the most liked guy on Raw right now, but for the last month or two, 2 months or so, Lesnar's been kind of teetering on the I hate him, but I love him. I hate him, but I love him, like the fans' reaction. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can kind of stay on the side of fans hating him because even when they were supposed to hate him, they didn't. So
yeah, that's a good point.
I think that's going to be interesting. Yeah, I mean, don't forget him versus Lashley. It was just it was such a weird thing.
I wanted to see Brock Lesnar kick Lashley's ass, to be honest with you.
But I just meant you 1 minute, literally, when Brock comes out, it was like, yeah. And then when Bobby came out, it was like, yeah. And then they're both in the ring and it was like, I don't know. They didn't know what to do. So it was like they were being cheered, that they were being booed. They couldn't make up their mind. I don't know. I don't know what to do with my arm. But yeah, so I think that'll be interesting. So yes, as you said, they did. Cody did eventually accept his challenge to a match at Night of Champions, to a fight. So what that entails, we don't know yet, but there is still 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks until Night of Champions. So we don't have to worry about that. And then we saw Finn Balor won that match because of Brock's interference, which is exactly what I wanted. I wanted Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins, because what else would I have wanted? Just add LA Knight in there and I would have been in heaven. And so Rollins versus Balor was the main event, which I don't know that there are enough words to describe how great this match. Oh my God, how great this match was. She's just being She just won't stop. I can't describe how good this match was. It was great. It's something that I would watch every single week and not get sick of. I also loved the callback to the Universal Championship match that they
That was
had.
a great spot. That was a great spot.
Yes, I loved that. So there's just nothing. The inverted stomp, like it's just I can't express. There's not enough compliments. There's not enough good words for me to say. Seth wins, which we basically knew. So he will be going on to Night of Champions to face whoever the SmackDown winner is, which I wanted to talk about that as well. So basically, because they leaked it to us, with the tournament bracket, we know who those triple threats are, which I'm fine with. So the first one is AJ Styles versus Edge versus Rey Mysterio. And the second one is Austin Theory versus Bobby Lashley versus Sheamus. So my original thought process is I wish Austin Theory and Lashley were separated, because we've been seeing them fight for months on end. Like literally just saw it at Backlash in another triple threat, but like it would have been nice to have switched somebody out. I get all six of these guys are top name players, obviously, so it's kind of difficult to be like, oh, like which one should we switch out? But I think it would have been more interesting to see like Rey Mysterio in there, Edge, something. So when it comes to AJ Styles versus Edge versus Rey Mysterio, who do you predict as the winner of that one?
I have Edge because it feels like that one thing that could, get him along in this, retirement tour I think he's on at this point. And I mean, you can say the same thing about Rey. So it's just whoever. So it's Edge, Rey, and AJ Styles.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's AJ Styles.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm going with AJ Styles.
No, it's gonna be AJ Styles. I forgot the third person. It's gonna be AJ Styles. You need to have AJ Styles versus Rollins at Night of Champions. I've been saying this since it needs to happen.
Yeah, I understand everyone. Like, there's so many people that are like, Edge deserves it one last time, but why? Like, I'm not hating, but dude is a part timer at this point. You can't. Like, we don't want another part time champion. I'm sorry, but
no, you need to elevate the OC. You need to get the OC on TV. You need to get screen time for them, because the Judgment Day they're on Raw now.
Yep.
So still, you need to get them on TV. That's why you move them to SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put them
and they were last week. I don't know if you saw SmackDown last week, but the OC was on.
Exactly.
Last week.
So yeah, maybe not like I'd say feud with LWO, but that's just easy to me. Like that's just an easy feud. Like,
well, and they're both babyface groups right now.
Too. So that's you just got to get them on TV. That's just I'm trying to explain why, but they just need more TV time. They're you brought them in from Japan and all that. You bring Mia Yim back, and you have big plans for them. I just
damn ankle.
Then that damn ankle. That's just it's tough. Hopefully, but it's better now.
Yeah. So if AJ Styles wins the first one, then we have Theory, Lashley, Sheamus. Who would you think would win the second one?
Theory in a bullshit way, because then you get Theory versus AJ Styles, and then Bronson Reed somehow.
I would like to say Sheamus.
Sheamus Styles would be a sick match.
That's what I'm thinking, because AJ Styles just came back, so he's only been back basically for 2 weeks. So if he wins, it's like, okay, Theory and Lashley. Theory already has a championship. I get the whole thing, like I could be a double champion, whatever, but it's kind of like I don't think anyone would care. And if you want to compete with Finn versus Rollins, I feel like AJ Styles versus Sheamus would be good. I wouldn't hate it being Lashley, but I would rather they be a little bit more equal. And AJ Styles versus Sheamus is a little bit more equal to me, other than Lashley just feels like he would just completely obliterate Styles just because he's a gigantic human being. So I would rather see that, and then AJ Styles be the winner, and it be AJ versus Seth.
You need to have AJ versus Seth.
I would love it. Which would be interesting though, because they're two baby faces. But I don't think that should be a thing. I don't think it should be a thing when it comes to this match because it's not about rivalries.
No, in tournaments you can. This is like I will say what's those an exception. It's exception to the rule when it comes to who you want to face off in when it comes to tournaments for a championship, because it's not about like the feud's already in place. You could have two people fighting, two heels, two face, doesn't matter. The feud of what they're fighting over is in place, so it doesn't matter what they are to the crowd.
And I feel like the crowd, the audience at Night of Champions would want to see AJ Styles more than seeing Sheamus. And that's no disrespect, but like,
they want to see Rollins.
It's AJ Styles. So, So then those are our predictions, which I still think Rollins is coming out as the winner. And I still think that it makes the most sense because I think it was kind of lame in a way that they even involved SmackDown, because I understand it to an extent, but like, to me, it just doesn't make any sense to have a SmackDown person win and then have them move to Raw because you just had the draft. Like, there's just no point.
It's like that, 12-6 curve they throw you. WWE always throws you. Where it's like, this could happen. And it's like, okay, no, it's not. I'm not 3-year-olds. I know peekaboo is just you right there. Okay.
Yeah. So did you want to get to any comments?
I saw that we had some. I didn't see the Kingdom of Razor's back. It's always great seeing you.
What up?
Yo. Yes, you're damn right. It's gonna be back. It's a peep. Another great question. Woke up as Superman. What superpower would you use the most? Flight, super strength, ice breath, X-ray vision, super hearing. Super strength. You know how much fish I carry in a day? It'd be so much easier if I could just move it.
Okay. Stop that. No, don't involve your job. Just like in general for your life.
It would be if I could just take this couch or whatever in this house and just like get like.
But why do you need more uses? Move?
That's just the first one that came to my head.
Okay, I'd want to fly.
Why? Then your ears
because then I could go anywhere I want.
Yeah. But flying's
Monday
weird.
Night Raw looks sick. Let me buy a ticket and fly there. Like, hello, I could do anything I wanted.
But how fast are you going?
As fast as I fucking want.
Well, like it's the thing with the airplane. You could be. It's still 6 hours.
But Superman can fly fast. Okay, we're living in a superhero world, and Superman can do whatever he wants, and I would get there very quickly. Okay.
I thought we were living in a material world, but who am I? And then the Game Razor also says the Brock promo was great. Because it didn't feel like a wrestling promo. It felt like real Brock Lesnar, who is one of the few wrestlers of that, who I would agree Cody Rhodes is in that same category of the last few wrestlers of that era.
Yeah.
That, put it all in there. And the Science Guy's here. It's my guy.
Oh, yeah. We already talked about this.
We kind of touched upon this, Sora, that if we do not have Cody Rollins in the infamous Hell in a Cell match where he had legitimately a purple pectoral, then I maybe. Yeah. But no, that's too quick. Brock Lesnar versus Brock Lesnar 03 versus now. I think this is like a father-son situation where like the son is 03 and right now is the dad, and like he's just gonna eat him up.
It's just because they're so different. Like Brock was powerful and strong back then, but he wrestled so differently that it wouldn't match up well with Brock now. Because even Brock versus Cody is a little iffy, because they're so different. Like Cody doesn't lead with strength and power the way that Brock does. So it is those matchups are always interesting because a lot of the time, when it was Brock versus Roman, they're very similar in that way. So some people might deem that to be boring, but it's like, I don't know. It's almost like easier to watch because it just seemed to flow a little bit better. So yeah, I think that if we're going off of like my immediate thoughts, I would say 2023 Brock is winning just because he'd just dominate his younger self.
Suplex City was simply a blueprint in 2000. Yeah. And the Science Guy again, Edge, Zayn, and KO in a faction dedicated to sever the bloodline called Bloodshed. I think that's just...
It's not that bad, no. I mean, it would go along with... what was his what? Why can't I think of it?
What was it?
His alter ego,
Whose alter
the
ego?
Brood, the
The
Brood.
Brood. Thank
Sorry,
you. Yeah.
I couldn't think of the word, but yeah, it that plays into
Yeah.
that.
Sure. Look up the Brood. The Brood. For someone who's only been into this for a few months, kids getting it, catching on quick. So look up the Brood and look up the purple pectoral, and then you'll understand what we said. So what do we have next, Sarah?
Imperium.
Yeah!
Imperium challenging Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. So my original thoughts with this was I was very excited that it was the first Raw post the draft, and they immediately had Imperium on Raw. Obviously, unless not obviously, but obviously to me, Gunther got married last week. So the reason he is gone is because he is currently on his honeymoon, looking fine AF, might I add. In Italy and whatever, smoking cigars, doing whatever he
I want to
does.
smoke a cigar with Gunther so bad.
He's just,
I'm putting that on my bucket list.
he's busy
right
being
now.
cool. So so that's why
cool.
he wasn't there. But I love that they're just like backstage and just that the first time that they're on TV post draft that they are going straight after the tag team champions. So I love that. I assumed that their entrance was going to be cut off because typically that happens when the first people come out and then they go to commercial. So I'm very glad that they did not do that. But of course, my biggest bone to pick with this match is one, why is it always Vinci that takes the pin? I just want to I want to understand. It's always Vinci that loses the match, which is really annoying.
Yeah, I forgot he took the pin last night too.
Yeah, it's very annoying. And so that brings me to the same, conversation that I alluded to a little bit earlier with Judgment Day is I have an issue with how they book Imperium because, and we've talked about this a ton of times on here, that I just don't think that they are making them look like an overall strong and fear-inducing group because every time that they have Imperium, the Kaiser and Vinci doing their own little tag team matches, they lose 99% of the time. So it's like they're walking in the back, they're talking big, Kevin Owens is being hilarious, being like, I don't like he says general weird. Like what? Like that was hilarious. But like they're walking big with their hair, being cocky and whatever. And it's like, oh, okay, that's really cool. But then they get out in the ring and they have a great match, but they lose. And so it's just I have an issue with that because it just doesn't match. Because then it makes you think, why is Gunther surrounding himself with people who just lose? That doesn't they're not benefiting
he's
him.
Taking their energy. That's why he's just like he's the top.
He's an energy sucker.
He is a windbreak. It's to me it was just more the fact that Gunther is so dominant right now, and it doesn't matter if Imperium lose because Imperium is Gunther right now. Essentially, we haven't got to that point where you're gonna see Kaiser and Vinci win the tag titles. I think there was a good little preview of down the line when they could be in the title picture, and you have them go up and against Sammy and KO and feud with them. They're laying the groundwork, for that. I thought last night was a really good beginning to that.
Yeah, because I didn't mean that they should win the titles. I just think that
but I think they're gonna win once in a while. They'll probably, what it is, they'll probably win on house shows and like.
Yeah, but that's not translating to those of us that watch TV and can't go to house shows.
That's true.
I don't know, man. This man doesn't deserve to lose. This man deserves whatever he wants.
Hello there.
Hello. Ring General. I just
have your attention, please.
I love the way he was like walking out and then he was like had his hand out, like kiss the ring, like kiss it. And then I would have been like, yes, daddy. And he would have been like, yeah, I'd be like, okay. So anyway, I'm excited to see when Gunther returns because I was very excited that they got drafted to Raw. So then we had one of the most random aspects of the evening. Rhea Ripley comes out looking wonderful in her shorts that say Dom Dom, which I just just love
Yeah,
it.
his name's on the butt, but
I love it. I know.
Buddy gets to touch it.
And
Did you see that?
yeah.
That was awesome.
And her opponent was Dana Brooke. So my first thoughts
Man,
was
go
why?
Tina. What
I
do you
mean,
mean, why? Get her
well,
on
hold on.
TV.
Let me get to my point.
I'm sorry, I'm excited.
I'm
Champ
saying my
is great.
initial thoughts were why. And then as the match continued, I was like, okay, well, it's cool. Like, I'm glad, like, happy for her because she's been very outspoken about wanting to be on TV and all this stuff about her fans allegedly having signs taken away at shows, whatever. The problem, of course, was that it was a squash match, essentially. It lasted a little bit longer than a typical squash match, but that was it. And the part that I just thought was weird was Natalya, but also the whole point of Natalya coming out and being like, I'm here to save Dana Brooke was like, that was weird. But the fact that Rhea did not let go of the submission hold and Natalya is walking, like,
that's when it's fucking weird, man.
it was
I
just
don't get
weird
that.
because I was like, why? You're supposed to be like looking intimidating to Rhea, who has this little tiny lady like wrapped up in a submission hold because Rhea's a big girl, you know, like strong woman. And Dana is strong, but she's petite. And you're walking
Weird.
down the ramp to save your friend. Like, why would she let her go? Like, why are you just walking? And then you stand in the ring and you're like,
Very bizarre. Like when I was watching
weird.
it, all I could see was like, all right, she's walking down because she's gonna unload either a punch or a slap that just is gonna shot turn around the world essentially. And that's like, all right, now Natalya's back with like an edge, and she's coming after the title, and Dana Brooke's gonna be there, and all that. But to have it just be a lackluster like confrontation. Like,
Yeah.
I was screaming in the basement, like, slap her, slap her. And I swear, I'm so happy my parents fall asleep so early because you just hear me screaming, slap her, hoping that you'd get some sort of feud to start. And it dies, it falls flat. I'm just okay. All right, moving on. Like,
it seems like this is their attempt to add like the next opponent for Rhea, which then makes me think, because when we were talking about the roster and how it shaped out for each show, the SmackDown women's roster is insanely packed, and the Raw roster is very much led by Becky and Rhea, and the other ones are like NXT call-ups, or kind of like the girls that are just in the middle or not even in the middle, they're below the middle, like that they need to be pushed. And so I think that's the problem that we're running into, is that Rhea doesn't really have a top tier opponent to go up against next because of the way the roster shook out. And so it's like, okay, Natalya could be good, but like, is anyone gonna care? Like, I don't know. But we did see Zoe Stark debut. So she got
what do you think of Zoe Stark?
I'm conflicted. I think that she's good in the ring. Some of her moves scare me a little bit because I feel like she's very, like, not stiff, but she's kind of rough. Like, that's just her style, I think.
Yeah.
And so it just worries me, like her finisher, when I'm like, you're gonna like knock someone's head off one day. That's just like what it looks like every time I see it. It looks cool, but it also makes me nervous. I think I just have to see more of her because I wasn't actively watching NXT to have like a real opinion on her. So, I mean, she looks fine, but
she looked to me, feels like there's at least one guy in every generation or era in the men's division where they're just like, oh, he's an ass kicker. It's like, oh, what's his gimmick though? Like, no, he's an ass kicker.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm feeling with Zoe Stark. And she plays the heel role very well in the sense that like she just doesn't care. Not a fan though of her half stealing LA Knight's look with the leather vest into like one sleeve. Like, I that's the only real critique.
How
it's
dare
like
her.
That's what I'm saying. Like, come on, girl. That's LA Knight's attire.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of the word. But so I think she's gonna be great in the Raw women's division, especially like maybe she teams up with Trish a little bit, feuds with Becky, and then you build that up. It's like, oh, you want to challenge me in these matches? I'm a Hall of Famer. Becky,
Mhm.
you're not even on my level. Here,
Yeah.
let's take someone who is on your level, and it's the rising star coming from NXT, which is one, a slap in the face to Becky for, curtain purposes, and then two, it's also behind the curtain. It's a great little avenue for Zoe Stark to get her, working with top stars, maybe get some FaceTime, and she's a Triple H girl.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so I think it's going to be interesting to see how this goes, because we said that this was kind of one of the issues that they always ran into during the draft. It was either they did too many moves that made it look like they did a lot, but actually a lot of the people who are on the same show previously are back on the same show, or they like overload one show, and then it's like other ones kind of like, I mean, that's why I thought that Charlotte would go to Raw or like something, that there was going to be some sort of change, but I guess we shall see. And since we are discussing the ladies, is there anyone better right now than heel Trish Stratus? Is there anything better?
it's Dom Mysterio, Trish Stratus, and everybody else for
It's
heels. It reached like that's it.
I felt like what I like about this whole thing, and I mean, just her being back and then her being a heel, and how she was in like talking and just like doing everything last night, it felt very old school to me. It was like from her making the t-shirt, that said missing and had a picture of Becky, to her handing out flyers, missing flyers of Becky, to her playing the trick to the audience of playing Becky's music and Becky actually wasn't there, to then the music playing and actually was Becky. Like, that is so old school to me. So I just loved it. And the fact that she included her daughter, which is like, but it's like that's something that they used to do a lot. And I'm
Yeah,
sorry, that whole thing was hilarious. I don't care what anyone says. The fact that she said that her and her dumb daughter, and then she's like, no guys, like she's really dumb, like she doesn't even know her colors and she's
yeah,
2 years old. And then Becky goes on Twitter afterwards and posts a video of her daughter saying all the colors. So I'm just like, this is so stupid, but it's like so funny.
that's
It's
wrestling,
just,
baby.
it was just so good. I think we needed this, and I'm very glad that Becky's back, because
Very good.
I like what Trish has done in the meantime, but obviously it's I think it's something I mentioned like a week or two ago, that it just felt like a very one-sided rivalry, and that just doesn't, it's not funny. Like, it's not fun to watch when it's like Trish is talking to the camera basically.
Yeah,
So I'm glad that Becky actually did come back.
yeah. It serves purpose of her just going out and cutting an old school promo of talking to the camera or to the crowd, and there were times I will say that the new age, fan, like, oh, this is so cringe. Like it's,
No.
it's like, no, it was brilliant heel work because Trish did not give a fuck what she said. She was firing from the hip. She was just saying literally whatever. And when you include someone's family, it's just like, all right, like that's you're trying to get that level,
Yeah.
heat right now. And then the fact that you have Becky come out, hunted down all that, it's like, all right, now we can get this show on the road and really start getting this feud along, and we'll have some backstage attacks. Maybe we'll have some promo battles in the ring. Maybe we have something of what I already said about Trish being like, I'm not going to fight you on Raw. I'm not going to fight you in front of these people. And then it's just her sending out, we'll say henchwomen to
Yeah.
fight her battles. And then maybe Trish starts her own little faction, lead it up to SummerSlam.
Well, and what's crazy is that SummerSlam isn't until August. There's no pay-per-view in July. So
Is
it's
there no wait? Is there no pay per view in July, or there's no pay per view in July in the U.S.?
there's no pay-per-view in July at all.
Wow.
So there's 2 this month, and then Money in the Bank is in June, I believe. And then there's nothing in August. Or I'm sorry, nothing until August. I'm pretty sure. I don't think it's June. WWE pay-per-view. Hold on. I get
I'm thinking out my
confused.
thoughts. Yeah, I'm thinking out my feelings.
Okay, so yeah, there's nothing in June. There's nothing in June. Okay, so
Okay.
Night of Champions is May 27th, and then Money in the Bank is July 1st. So all of
okay.
June,
So
and
they're
then
trying to go the 5-week
yeah,
break.
and I think it's because we have
Okay.
what my guess is. This is what I was talking about this the other day. I'm like, my guess is that maybe they wanted to have Night of Champions or the Saudi pay-per-view. Maybe they wanted to have it in June, and then they realized that oh wait, Roman's gonna hit 1,000 days on a Saturday.
Oh, so let's
Why
push it
not make that
that.
the pay-per-view? You know what I mean? Because I
That
feel
would
like
that would be a very
that makes more sense to me than like them just doing absolutely nothing for his 1,000th day, you know? But
yeah, because that's such a big like. I know people are like, oh yeah, 1,000 champion is done. It's like no, that's kind of like a ridiculous number in
it
anything.
is.
So you
Yeah.
have to make some sort of. You'd be dumb not to capitalize on it.
Yeah.
Essentially.
So that's
I'm
just
for
my
that.
guess.
Okay, then there you go. Thought on my feelings there. Thank you for helping me.
And so since we're talking about Roman, I just wanted to talk about this before we end the show. So we know Rollins, I keep saying that. Roman is scheduled to appear on SmackDown. And before we get into what they're saying about Night of Champions, or you know what, my biggest bone to pick right now actually is about Night of Champions. So I'm going to go into that. So he's going to be on SmackDown. He's being promoted to have a match at Night of Champions. Okay. That's exactly what we wanted. We said he can't just be there. He can't fly all the way to Saudi Arabia and do literally nothing. Like he can't just have a ceremony celebrating the 1,000 days. Like, no, he can't do that. So I'm like, okay, cool. But my problem is, how can they say that there is nobody in the company that is worthy of facing Roman right now because he's beating everybody, and there is nobody currently on the roster that can beat him, hence the introduction of the new championship and why they brought it to Raw. But then they're going to have him come back on SmackDown this week and have him defend the title 2 weeks later. Like, so we're going to get 2 weeks of buildup, but like Cody needed 3 months almost of buildup in order to get his match at WrestleMania. I'm just very confused. Or, you know, Sammy had like months and months and months leading up to his at Elimination Chamber. You're really going to have him just come back on SmackDown and then 2 weeks later have a title defense? Like, I don't feel like that makes any sense.
What if he's defending it within the bloodline?
That's my only thought that I had, but I felt like that was really quick too, though. Like,
no, you can still drag it out to SummerSlam.
No, but I'm saying it's very quick for them to jump from him returning after being gone since WrestleMania, appearing on SmackDown, and then 2 weeks later already having a match with one of the Usos. Like, I just feel like that's very quick when he's not been around. I just feel like that's the end goal, but it seems like it would probably be him versus Solo. But I just don't know that there's going to be enough build-up.
No, be him versus main event Jay.
No, Solo's dethroning him. Jay's not dethroning him.
No.
I'm saying the eventual end is him versus Solo.
Culmination of
yeah,
it.
but I'm saying
Night of Champions.
I still even think that him facing an Uso and obviously Jay at Night of Champions, that's like very quick for him to establish that in only 2 weeks, because it would be 2 weeks later that he would be fighting at Night of Champions. To me, maybe that wouldn't be too quick. I don't know, but to me, it just doesn't align with what they've been trying to sell us, that he's this dominant champion that no one can compete with. None of you can even come close to defeating him. Here's a new title because we need a full-time champion on Raw. But yeah, he's gonna get somebody on Friday, and then 2 weeks later he's gonna defend it against this person. Like, I just don't think it makes any sense.
I think I'm in the minority here when I say that I've kind of started to view Roman in his own, like, the bloodline is just their own thing. Like, right now it's WWE product, and then there's the bloodline presented by WWE, and that is how they're getting the belts off Roman, so that you can go in with part 2 of the Triple H era, which is the bloodline incorporated into all this, and they're done with their bullshit. Because, for instance, like, when you watch shows, like, yeah, obviously, you know, certain segments or parts of the show are about just them, or the show is about this for this week, for instance, the title tournament. With the bloodline, it just feels like every show feels like it's about them, and now we're getting to a point where it's like okay, it's Raw this weekend, we're moving on, but let's check in with the Bloodline. Like, it really feels like they're their own kind of thing
Yeah.
within WWE, and Roman is the champion, like, he's the guy that did all this, so, you know, you're still gonna build him up, he's not gonna lose to anyone outside because the Bloodline are the most dominant faction. Oh,
Hmm.
they just lost at WrestleMania. Now there's cracks in it. So now, you have KO and Sammy starting that new era by defending or at least wrestling in matches on the main show, a guy against people like Imperium and involving Matt Riddle, where now you're gonna have the Bloodline just do their thing, wrap it up with a nice bow, Avengers Endgame style, and then season 2 of Papa Paul's production, you get the Bloodline incorporated to everything, and then that's where you can really start off this era with everything, and it's a clean slate fully. Even if
So
Solo is the champion, it's a
so
clean.
basically you kind of don't really care what happens and who
I
he
give.
faces.
I don't care what happens with the Bloodline at all until SummerSlam, because I'm in it for the long haul and realize that the show until SummerSlam, the main 95% of the show is going to be about the world heavyweight, and then you're gonna have that 5% that there's still Bloodline. And for instance, like the Bloodline's on SmackDown now, so you're not gonna get that like, oh, it's the Bloodline starting Raw and SmackDown every week,
Yeah.
and they're always gonna start the show. It's gonna happen. Now it's like, oh, Raw, all right. Well, there's no Bloodline. Like there was no Bloodline last night.
So
Like,
if they do give him an opponent though, do you think the only one that would make sense is Jay? Or do you think that they would give him somebody else? And if so, who do you think? Because when I was trying to think of it, I was like, I don't think there's really anybody that makes any sense at this point that's on SmackDown. Because, like, first of all, he's been gone for over a month. And the only people that they've continued to have him have issues with are the Usos. So, like, it does, to me, it wouldn't make any sense, but they're like promoting him and saying that, oh, every championship will be defended, whatever. Okay, but like Rowan's not been around and he doesn't have an established feud, or, I don't know. He doesn't have anybody he's been going against for the past month. So it's like
yeah,
there's not really a whole lot of people to me that make sense unless they're just going to be like, give him some random, this is the other thought I had. Maybe they give him some random dude, and I'm saying random just because it could be anybody on the roster who's very clearly not going to win, just so that he can say, well, I defended my title and now let's celebrate 1,000 days. Like, I could see them doing that, being like, feed him like anybody that's not Tozawa or something, you know what I mean? Like,
you get like a
it,
gauntlet of different, like, challenge the champ, and like it's a
no,
thousand
no, no.
days. All,
Well, I
but
mean,
no, but it's
maybe,
all, but
but I just,
his thing, it's not like legit, like Rollins or Cody Rhodes type thing.
yeah,
It's like,
it could be any random person, like, Karrion Kross or something. Like, Karrion Kross is not going to win to become the champion, but then at least Roman would be like, well, you said every championship was going to be defended, and I just defended my title and I won in 2 minutes. So, like, I wouldn't be surprised. And, like, as annoying as that would be, it would play very well into his character,
yeah,
So
yeah, I'm into, or they get some Saudi Arabian wrestler.
maybe, I mean, who knows?
Not
But
to like
I
go any direction with it, and I just don't care because I'm just ready for the story to wrap up. It's like watching a TV show every week. That's what I think of the Bloodline, is that it is legitimately like a show you would stream on Netflix or something, and you're just waiting for that next episode or next season to come out, because
yeah.
and you're doing your reruns and whatnot, and it's like, all right, well, this until this comes out, oh, let's check out this show, Monday Night Raw, and it
Mm,
is this. Like, that's kind of where my head's at, because it's what's going on is, I would say, some of the best wrestling
yeah.
in ages, and not
Yeah.
just in WWE, in all promotions.
Mhm.
But because it's the best wrestling in years across all promotions, WWE is finally stepping this shit up, and you're getting, Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor on Monday Night Raw. It's
Yeah.
just, you can't, so that's where like the pros and cons of this all come out, is that you can be upset that Roman is doing this and whatnot, but because he's doing it, like, we're getting shit like this.
Yeah.
So I try to stay as in the middle as possible so that I have eyes on both sides of the coin.
Do you think that he's going to get involved at all with the World Heavyweight tournament or that match? Because, you know, they've already teased that he should be able to compete for it. So since he's going to be on SmackDown, the triple threats are happening. So I'm like, is he going to get involved? Are they going to beat up one of the competitors and be like, you know, put Solo in it or something? Do you think that he's going to try to get himself involved? Do you think he's going to involve himself at Night of Champions in the Rollins versus whoever?
You have him interfere in the Sheamus match. He goes after Sheamus because the Brawling Brutes are out there. And the way he does it to initiate it is he sends the Usos out and they fight with the Brawling Brutes. And then I know where Sheamus is right there.
Uh-huh.
And then he kicks his head in or Superman punch, spear, whatever. And then Sheamus and the Brawling Brutes the next week, you know, he's like, you cost me my title. I'm going to cost you yours. And, you know, we'll say him versus Sheamus at Night of Champions, because I feel like Sheamus needs a match like that with his popularity outside of the US. And then you have the Brawling Brutes at ringside. Usos try to interfere, fail, but then Solo saves the day. Boom, you have a Royal Rumble moment at Night of Champions that really gets the gears going. See, that's what I'm saying. That's why we listen.
Well, who was Roman against at Clash at the Castle? Was it Sheamus? No, that was Gunther.
No, McIntyre.
Oh man, that would have been cool, because then it would be a callback tonight at Night of Champions for Clash at the Castle. Well, anyway,
or Drew McIntyre when Solo comes out. Oh, you can do a lot. You can do a lot. You can do a lot. That's why it's so good.
Yeah, as long as he's not going to be in the match himself, then I don't really care. So,
no.
But anyway, yeah, that was what I had to talk about.
It was Raw, yeah, yeah. It was Raw, guys, and it was a good show. I would say a nice B show. B's aren't always a bad thing. That's what my report card looked like.
Above average.
Yeah, like it did its job. It was a great establishing, you know, the new era. And for God's sakes, we didn't even mention it. And it was one of my favorite parts. The way.
Oh yeah.
Johnny Gargano is on. Like, I want to see him be Intercontinental Champion so bad. Maybe not him be the one who's D3 and Gunther, because I just not yet. Okay, I kind of want to see him break Honky Tonk's record.
Yes,
but the way they're doing it is very smart, because it just feels that they are hanging out backstage as just, you know, a group of friends, and that is just Gargano is so good at that element of it, and
they teased Ciampa.
When
they teased Ciampa coming back, Gargano said something about how like, oh, and like he's coming back soon or whatever. And obviously it's not Theory, because Theory's on SmackDown.
Oh, so right.
It would be Ciampa, who's a free agent.
No one will survive. That's his theme song. I like singing theme songs. No one will survive.
That's cool.
But yeah, thank you guys for tuning into this edition of the Raw Rewind, Pitts and Sara's Wrestling Show, which is a podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcast. Go hit that subscribe button, 5-star rating, and a comment. We'd love your comments. We have some haters, okay? We have some heels in our comment section, and we need our fans, our peeps, to go kind of shoo them away and get that rating up again, because it was just a little miscommunication. All right, sorry, we didn't want to infringe on your gimmick, but we got our own gimmick now. All right, so how about you buzz off into another promotion? And, you know, speaking of another ways to promote yourself, Sara's YouTube channel, which we're on live right now. Sara's YouTube channel, which you can find all of our past live streams, and not only that, clips from every live stream, because maybe you don't have an hour and 5 minutes and 3 seconds to tune in and watch every single topic discussed on Raw. by us. You can just watch something that we really touched upon, something that, is just, you want to know, you want to watch Raw for that reason. You missed it, and you don't really care about the other shit. We have it all there for you. Sarah's YouTube channel at Sarah Marshall XO, and then Twitter, so you know when those clips get posted and to watch them, at SMarshXO and at Pat_Pitts for all things wrestling and sports too. Maybe you like other things. We like other things too. And then Instagram to cap it off, Pitsy35 and at SMarsh_. We will be back on Thursday, I'm pretty sure, for a podcast episode. And we got a lot of like crazy things to talk about because, like, Sarah, I know we've been doing a lot of WWE, but I just finished watching the Firm Deletion in AEW, and I mean, holy, I'm. It wasn't the best one I watched. I think that would maybe Tag Team Apocalyptic or the first one, but it set a standard for the cinematic matches. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One thing the Hardys been, I would say, revolutionized yet again. Another thing they revolutionized were these cinematic matches where they didn't feel so cringe and stiff, and clearly it's, a cinematic thing. This felt so fluid, and the callbacks and the connections, all that. It's so good. And there's other stuff going on. They're going across the pond at AEW.
I heard.
And that brings up another conversation because wrestling pay-per-views just don't want to be in the US for 2023 in the summer. I don't get it. We've had enough of pay-per-views here. Let's go to the better audience over in Europe because it really is a better. I'll say it straight up. It's a way better audience than here. I don't blame them.
I think it's because people in America just become complacent because people are able to see them so often that it's not as exciting as it is for the people who only get to see them maybe twice a year, or even Puerto Rico once in 18 years. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's why these crowds are hype, because like, it's exciting for them. Whereas, I could have gone to Raw earlier this year. I probably can go to again soon in a couple months, or again in 6 months. Like it's different for us. So
very different. And the Puerto Rico crowd really just set the tone for it. I mean, I really want to go to a show over there, but until then, we will have to hope and dream and wait for the next time. Thank you guys for tuning in to this edition of the Raw Rewind. God bless. Remember that you can do it. All you gotta do is try. We will see you next time.